Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Here now.
I am here now. Welcome back. Today we should be on our live platforms giving you guys value. What does the word risk mean?
Grow.
Go ahead, Angelo.
I said means grow.
Let go of something of a lower nature for something of a higher nature. You're going for something of a lower nature for something of a higher nature. Because a lot of times we hang on to the things of a lower nature because we're afraid to let go. But when you're willing to let go of something for a lower nature, you also open up the opportunity for the new. And the only way you will find out what that new is one, that you're going after it and you're letting go of the past. The past is what's holding us back. And the future is the only thing that we could work towards. I'm going to play this video and we'll come back to our lesson. When you look at this energy, and this is the way our light body looks. We truly are energy, and our energy thinks, and we think through that energy. We give life to that energy, and we change that state of that energy at all times. But the majority of the time, the average individual is not aware. They're not aware what that body is thinking and feeling, how it's vibrating. That's why it's very important to self-observation and repetition of this information, because if you don't, your body goes back to vibrating the way it was. That energy does not stop. The only time it stops is when it leaves this body. We've got to be so aware that we become one with that energy at all times, that we're directing that energy to experience the life that we desire. I'm going to play this video.
In front of an infrared television camera, that's about how we'd see ourselves. On frequencies, okay? So if we look at this for a moment, let's take a look at ourselves. We're a massive energy, and we function on frequencies, okay? And if we take a look at ourselves, in truth, if we were in a completely dark room in front of an infrared television camera, that's about how we'd see ourselves. As a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. Hold your hand up in front of you for a second. Just hold your hand up. And take a look at it. It seems solid, doesn't it? Feel it with your other hand. And it feels solid. The truth is, it's a mass of molecules in a very high speed of vibration. And if you take a look at the particle of energy, there's a greater space between the particle than there is in the size of the particle. Your hand, your whole body, is a mass of molecules in a very high speed of vibration. Now, the more we understand, I think the more of a risk taker we can become. Lack of understanding causes us to play it safe. As little kids, we're taught, it's better to be safe than sorry. That is not true. That never has been true. So bring this up again, Scott. Let's take a look. You're talking here about the law of vibration. And the law of vibration is an interesting concept. The law of vibration governs everything in the whole universe. There's no exceptions. The whole universe is the law of vibration affects everything. Nothing escapes it. Everything around us is vibrating. Everything's moving in one frequency or another. Well, the more we understand this, I think the better off we're going to be, and we're going to be in a better position to go where we want to do and do whatever it is we want to do. Now, if you come back, if you take a look at this, we'll say a frequency is a level of vibration. And there's an infinite number of frequencies. There is no end to it. Every frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. Now, I think it's important we understand this because each level of vibration is connected to the one above and the one below. Thanks, Scott. Now, look at, they're all hooked together like the colors of a rainbow. If we can understand that in depth, whatever we want, we can get connected to it by getting on the same vibration. Think of this for a moment. Let's suppose you're in Singapore. Now, I have people in Singapore. I've got their number on my phone. So I could pull their number up, hit send, and bang, like that, I would have them on the other end of the line. We would both be on the same frequency. Time and space is sort of out of the game now. So it's like we're sitting beside each other because we're on the same frequency. Well, as we start to understand this, I think we eliminate the fear of the risk. Now, is there a risk? There is a risk because we're not really good at this, because we haven't done it very often. But the more we do it, the better we're going to get. And the better we're at it, the better we get at it, the more we're eliminating the risk. So put it back up, Scott. Let's look. Okay? Now, there's the X. Let's say that represents where you are. That represents where you are. Okay? Take an honest look at where you are in your life. Take a real good look at where you are in your life, and you're going to see how you got there. Okay? Now let's bring the lines up, and we'll get rid of the writing for a moment. And let's let those lines represent levels of vibration. We could also let them be representative of levels of conscious awareness. So each level, if we go back, as we raised our level of awareness, our whole world began to change. Now, let's say we left school, then we got a job, then we got another job, then we met someone, and on it goes. We're continually raising our level of consciousness until we are at where the X is right now. That's where we are. And that represents where you and I are right at this moment. Now, we're not satisfied with being there because we are spiritual beings and spirits always for expansion and fuller expression. So we say, that's where I want to go. Now, the problem is we don't know how to get there. And what we're doing is looking off into the dark. Is it all dark? It is as far as we're concerned because our consciousness ends at that line. Our conscious awareness ends at the line where our X is. That represents where we are. Now, we want to get there. We want to get to that new level. And because we don't know how, we generally let it fade. But we don't want to do that. I think we want to say, I want to get there. Okay? Now, Mikey pulled some questions up. Did you send these? Is Mikey on the line?
Mike is not here, but we have the questions ready for them.
Okay. Do they have the questions?
Yeah, we send them.
Okay. Where in your life are you holding back taking a risk. Now, I want you to really think about that. Where in your life are you holding back? I think we're all doing it to some degree. Now, when I go to make a new move, when I go to make something else happen, I don't know exactly how it's going to happen. And so there's a risk involved in it. And there is with you. When you go, come back on the screen, Scott. When you go out there, you're going where you've never been. And it's not fun. Okay? Now keep thinking. We don't want that to fade, but we let it fade. Now, what is the lesson here? We point out to move to a much higher frequency of thought, you must first consent. In other words, no one can take you there. If you take the people that you love dearly, and God, you want to help them in the worst way, you can't do it for them. You cannot do it for them. You've got to do this on your own. To move to a higher frequency of thought, you've got to first consent. And then you've got to adapt to the ideas and feelings that the new frequency represents. Nobody can do this for you. God, I think of the kids when they were smaller, you want to do it for people. I see people that come into this business, I want to do it for them. You can't do it for them. They got to do it themselves. Thanks, God. Now look at what we have to do is realize at the suggestion of a move, our paradigm is instantly going to put up a huge battle. We're working with laws. We're working with the paradigm that's conditioned, that somebody else built in our consciousness, in our mind. And it's going to continually fight you. You've got to take conscious control over the paradigm, remove and replace it. This is not an easy thing to do. But we've got to ask ourselves, what's going on? Well, let's back up. There we are there. We want to do it, but we don't know how. Okay? And so we keep bringing it up and letting it go. We bring it up and we let it go. Now we say, I really want to do that. Well, if you want to do it, you're the only one that can really make it happen. You've got to consent. Nobody can do it for you. Okay? Now here's what we want to try and remember. As we look at that, there is a place. Now, what are we talking about here? Listen, nothing is created or destroyed. Everything is already here. Everything's already created. All we're doing is creating an awareness of its presence. The way to build these cell phones has always been here. It's always been here. It just took some really bright thinking to discover them, okay? Now look at, when you take a look here, put it back up. When you take a look out there, you take your imagination and you go there, you are going somewhere. There is a place. There is a place, okay? And you can get there. You can get there. Now, this is where Hill cuts in, and he points out there's a difference between wishing for something and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe and acquire it. The state of mind must be belief and not mere hope or wish. Now, open-mindedness is essential to belief. Closed minds will not inspire faith, courage, or belief. Now, you're not ready to make a move ahead until you believe you can do it. You've got to believe in yourself. Hoping and wishing you can cut it isn't going to do it. Hoping and wishing will not do it. You really got to believe. Now, put that up in the corner for a few minutes, Scott. How do you believe? I have found that our belief system, Van der Waal gave this to me, and it's true. Our belief system is based upon our evaluation of something. And frequently, if we reevaluate a situation, our belief about that situation will change. Okay? Well, if you're going to do that, you have to study. Now, these are all pages here. These are pages that I study. I study them every morning. And they're very important pages. Okay? I study them with various different people. But I study them every day. And I keep going over them every day, every day, every day. I keep going over them. And we've got to start doing this if we're really going to believe that we can step out and really make things happen. Now, I believe we've got a phenomenal company here. Proctor Gallagher Institute is a great company. We've got some tremendous.
Now, when we look at everything that Bob was talking about, he's talking about consciousness and thinking. And this is the only thing that we could ever talk about, because the thing that will change you is the things that's between your right and left hand. It is the thing between your eyes. It is the thing that steps into your brain. It's called thinking power. The only thing that you'd ever change is your consciousness. And he's talking about how important it is to raise your state of consciousness, raise your belief system, raise your awareness. It's through constant spaced repetition and study. That's the only way you're going to change yourself. Otherwise, you go back to what you are. Or you stay what you are. You don't change. Why? Because if the belief doesn't change, your actions will never change. Your desires will never change. And you'll never move to a different state. To move to a higher state, you must believe. It cannot be mere hope or wish. You've got to act. In order to act, you've got to believe, and you've got to know where you're going. That's why goal setting is so important. That's why studying is so important. When we look at the imagination, and we're looking at the workshop of creation, we're looking at the gift. Imagination is the workshop of the human mind, wherein old ideas and established facts may be reassembled into new combinations and put to new uses. We can look at where we're at, and then we can begin to imagine beyond where we're at. We can look at the conditions and circumstances and begin to imagine what we need to do to go to where we want to go. We can imagine with what we see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and by this picturing power of the mind, form new images, form new thoughts. The formation of the mental images, pictures, or mental representations of the object or ideas, particularly of objects of sense, perception, and of mathematical reasoning. Through the reproduction or combination, we can create more ideas. When we look at imagination, we're looking at the image-making process of prior ideas that you have in your brain, body, mind, energy flow. You're looking at previous memory, or we can go into something entirely new. That something entirely new is beyond what you know. But it takes guts and it takes will to continue to use the image-making process to connect the dots to what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. If you're not what nexting it, you're going back to the images from the past. You're going back to who you are. Here we come into the principle of auto-suggestion, self-suggestion, from yourself to yourself, but it takes confidence to do that. Because you got to believe in the unseen power. And that goes back to creative imagination again. You begin to know and understand that self-confidence and initiative and leadership must be created in your imagination before they can become a reality. For it is in the workshop of your imagination that you will put the principle of autosuggestion into operation in creating these necessary qualities. The lesson on imagination might be called the hub of the reading course, because even every lesson of the course leads to this lesson and makes use of the principle upon which it is based, just as all the telephone wires lead to the exchange office for their source of power. You will never have a definite purpose in life. You will never have self-confidence. You will never have initiative and leadership unless you first create these qualities in your imagination and see yourself in possession of them. Just as the oak tree develops from the germ that lies in the acorn, and the bird develops from the germ that lies asleep in the egg, so will your material achievements grow out of the organized plans that you create in your imagination. First comes the thought, then organization of that thought into ideas and plans, then transformation of those plans into reality. The beginning, as you will observe, is in your imagination. The imagination is both interpretive and creative in nature. It can examine facts, concepts, and ideas, and it can create new combinations and plans out of these. Through its interpretive capacity, the imagination has one power, not generally attributed to it, namely the power to register vibration and thought waves that are put into motion from outside sources, just as the radio receiving apparatus picks up the vibration of sound. There is energy flowing around us right here now. And if we were to bring in a radio tuner and we were to turn it on, it would immediately pick up the vibration flowing in this same space. So that means all information is ever present, but you're only going to pick up what you're tuned into, what you desire, or what you fear. Bob said it earlier. He wanted to give this information to everyone around him, wanted to take everyone with him. If they're not tuned in, it's against their will. Oftentimes have worked at taking people in different directions. I stopped doing that. I'll offer. If I see that there's no movement, and it's really not their desire, then it's going beyond their will. This thinking power, if we don't understand how it works, if you don't know how you work, you just get turned off every second. You go back to doing what you know. You tune in for a little bit and then you tune out, but you don't even know why. This picturing power that's going on is happening to me, it's happening to you and everyone around you. But the average individual just tunes it out. A little bit of desire and it goes back. A little bit of desire and they go back. A little bit of desire and they go back. That's why studying and the application of the information is so important. Otherwise, this picturing power goes back to the old original pictures, and for the sake of order, it goes back to what it knows. Now, what do? We set a goal. We put a date on a goal. We write down that goal, and then what we're willing to go and do to create that reality. Now, if you're not ready to write down a goal, if you're not ready to write down the behaviors, the new behaviors that you're going to take on to impress onto your subconscious mind, onto your body, and be willing to get unconscionable, for the sake of effort, you just go back to what you know. It cannot be mere wish, hope. You have to go. You have to have a goal date, and then you have to have a plan. Start with a plan. Start writing down your plan, and you'll see how you'll start to feel the fear, the doubts, the worries. No, I shouldn't do it. Yes, do it. Don't do it. Should I put this off tomorrow? Should I write a plan out next week? Should I? That's the paradigm coming in. I've noticed that when I ask people, do you want to go somewhere different? Let's think of a plan. They don't want to show up there with a plan. They want to talk about the plan. People don't resist change, they resist being changed. If it's not their idea and they don't want to change, they go back to what they know. When you don't want to change and you don't want to write a plan, you don't want to create and hold yourself accountable, you go back to what you know. How do I know this? Been studying the mind for a long time. The question is how long do you want to stay where you're at? The question is, how many more days need to pass by that you're still looking at the same person in the same mirror, wanting something to change? How many days have to go by that you keep saying, I want more, but I don't know how? How many more times do you have to keep looking at your results and wishing for something different? How many weeks need to go by doing the same thing and you think something's going to change? These are the things that we've got to ask ourselves so we can make sound decisions. Now, if you maybe looked at this off and on, and then you look at it and then you get a little emotional involved in it, or you look at it because something inside of you is telling you to look at it, but you don't make a decision. How many more times do you need to look at this? And you know it's calling you. And are you just going to go back to what you know? You have to make a decision. And you got to make it right here and now. That you're no longer going to go back to what you were doing. You're going to commit. And you're going to commit to learning this material. If you cannot commit to changing yourself, you can never know or go beyond what you are. Are you here for information or a transformation? Are you here for information or are you here for transformation? Take a look at what we're doing. Invite you to our courses. Send me a message. And again, this is you, your life, your plan. You get to decide with your own will, free will. But remember, if you keep thinking that you would like something to change outside of yourself, you got to go inside. Thank you guys, and everyone have a wonderful day.